So the draft day shenanigans get underway with a signing. The Toronto Maple Leafs announced today that John Tavares has extended for 4 years at a cap hit of $4.38 million per year. This is beautiful. Now, I know over the last couple of weeks since the Leafs season came to an unfortunate end, there has been talks about a John Tavares extension and what that would look like. Obviously, the cap hit would have to be significantly lower than the $11 million he had been making over the previous 7 years. And the sentiment was we were confident something was going to get done. We just didn't know exactly what it would look like. And over the last few weeks, a lot of the contract rumors and optimism from fans has been all over the place. It started with the hope that the number would be under $5 million or around $5 million on a longer term deal, similar to the Chris Tanev deal, where it's maybe 6 years and to keep the cap hit down. But then we started hearing rumors that it was going to be a shorter term deal and that Tavares could get up to 7.5 or 8 million on the open market. And things got a little bit more anxious. And then recently it came out that the magic number was going to be a 4-year deal at $5 million per year if the Leafs were willing to get there. Obviously they don't, but if Tavares ends up signing anyways. And coming into the final weekend before July 1st, it really did feel like it was just going to come down to how badly does John Tavares want to be a Maple Leaf. And evidently he really wants to be a Leaf, because signing for 4 years at 4.38 is honestly a sweetheart of a deal considering the production he's had over the last few years. Is he going to be the star that he has been over the last several years? Probably not. Is he even going to be the second line center? Maybe for one more year. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but this is a very tidy piece of business with the cap going up that Tavares will naturally slide into being the third line center for the final few years of his career here. And it's going to cost a very reasonable amount. Now, before we get into Tavares and the lineup and all that, I do want to quickly touch on some more details with the contract. So first, this from Chris Johnston. The Tavares contract includes $2 million in deferred compensation, which is a mechanism that is going to be outlawed in the next CBA, which I'm pretty sure as I'm recording this, the press conference with the NHL and the NHLPA is starting like right now. So credit the Leafs for taking advantage of the deferred salary, because it makes a ton of sense for a player in Tavares' position. And also, it's going to be illegal next year anyway, so you might as well use it while you still are able, and you get the cap hit even lower as a result. And then finally, when it comes to trade protection, the first 2 years of this deal has a full no move, which is to be expected. Those are years that you're probably not going to plan to move Tavares anyways. And then the final 2 years, Tavares gets a 5-team no trade list, which means if he retires or goes on LTIR or is just bad in a few years, the Leafs are going to be able to trade this contract. I would imagine, it hasn't been released yet, but I imagine that the bonuses are pretty front loaded on this contract. So on July 1st, he's going to get a big lump sum, and July 1st next year, he'll get a big lump sum, so that the total money is a lot lower in the last 2 years, so that a team that is maybe a little bit more cash strapped would be willing to take on the deal. So as I'm recording, details are coming out, just a little bit more confirmation on the deferred salary. Because of the $2 million in deferred salary, this from James Myrtle, the cap hit drops from $4.5 million down to $4.38. So just an extra 120 grand per year in savings. Doesn't seem like a lot, but who knows? It may be pretty significant. We know how the Leafs have been up against the cap in recent years. I don't think they will be this year, but in the next few years they might be. So every penny counts. Now, as for how Tavares is going to fit into the lineup over the course of this deal, again, this year, he probably has to be the second line center out of necessity. The center market is just a complete travesty right now. I could see a world where the Leafs are going to target a third line center more specifically, but long term, the 2C spot is going to be a question mark. So one option is that the Leafs will find a actual second line center this summer, whether it's through free agency or trade, that will allow Tavares to slide down to be the third line center and hopefully provide a little bit more scoring punch to that third line that has been dormant for so long, especially when it comes time for the playoffs. You need some secondary scoring there. The other version, or other option, I guess, is Tavares isn't a center long term and he slides out to the wing. We've talked a lot about what the second line left wing spot is going to look like with Tavares and Nylander, but maybe Tavares is the second line left winger and you get another center in there. We saw that back a few years ago when the Leafs acquired Ryan O'Reilly. One of the combinations they tried was Tavares on the left with O'Reilly and Nylander on that second line. Again, I am assuming he's going to be the second line center this year. He's still a productive player, but then 2 years from now, he might be the third line center or maybe a winger, or I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But the point is, Tavares is staying in Toronto at a very, very reasonable cap hit. That is a hometown discount, like a real hometown discount. Again, people were talking about 5.5 million. I'm glad that Brad Treliving was, a little bit pushier with Tavares because he's made a bunch of money in his career and exploited the fact that he wanted to stay in Toronto. The Leafs are very clearly trying to usher in a bit of a new era when it comes to these contract negotiations. Now, Matthew Knies' deal is obviously still pending. We have to see how that breaks down, but we'll see in the coming days and months and weeks, whatever. But as it stands, Tavares locked up. It allows the Leafs to not be desperate for a center. And yeah, this is just a very good contract. I would be very surprised if people are mad at it. The only thing that people can actually be mad about with this contract is that they didn't change the DNA enough. But Tavares is making almost $7 million less than he did last year. He's the core four. It doesn't exist anymore. This is not a core member of the team anymore. He makes $4.38 million. That's not a core member. Like, the team will be different just in how they allocate the dollars. And I know people want to talk about it's a mindset, all that. I'm sorry, but John Tavares is a good player, and you need good players in the locker room to win. If it's a mentality thing, then it's going to come more from the guys like Matthews and Nylander than it will from Tavares. But regardless, that is going to be it for this video. Just wanted to get something quick up, an instant reaction to the Tavares signing. I am personally very excited, very happy that this piece of business got done. And now it allows me to breathe a little bit more as we approach July 1st. Speaking of July 1st, right here on the Game Over Toronto channel, I am going to be live on July 1st at 5 o'clock Eastern, recapping free agency, or day one of free agency, the Leafs moves, other big moves around the league. And yes, we will talk Mitch Marner on that day as well. So make sure to check that out. Again, July 1st, 5 o'clock Eastern, right here on Game Over Toronto. Drop a like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss that stream or any future uploads. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.